prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Amen. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilor Donahue.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Ramirez.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
9 present. We are here to resume the budget hearing, which was recessed last evening. I will read the announcement of the budget hearing. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 32, the City Council will hold a public hearing for consideration of the City Manager's proposed fiscal 2008 City of Lowell budget. In accordance with City Council Rule Number 26A, a public hearing on the annual budget is being held as previously stated at this budget hearing. Citizens and employees of the city shall have the opportunity to speak for not more than 5 minutes at the commencement of the hearing or on the entire budget and on any specific items therein. In addition, or in the alternative, said citizens and employees shall have the opportunity to speak prior to consideration by the City Council of the particular portion of the budget concerning one or more of the various departments, but each person shall speak not more than 5 times and not for more than 3 minutes each time. Individual speakers shall not be permitted to assign their allotted time to another individual. We recognize the city manager. He did present a communication, I think, to the councilors this evening. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we left last night's meeting, I was charged or asked to go back and review the budget to try to address a couple of concerns that were raised. The first is the school department budget, and the second was to see what if anything could be done to avoid some of the layoffs that were included within the budget. And certainly one of the objectives in avoiding the layoffs was to help those people that have been employees of the city for some time now, but also to ensure that when we did try to restore those positions or hold on to those positions, that we would ensure that it was put towards the essential services of the city. So I went back and worked a good portion of today with the CFO. I had an opportunity to also speak with a couple of the union people to discuss some of the positions that we're looking at. And I have presented to you tonight a letter which outlines my recommendations, and if I could, I would just read that, and that may be the quickest and easiest way to do that. Dear Mayor and Councilors, attached to new City Council resolution pages that reflect my updated budget submission and the budget votes taken last night. I have restored as many of the layoff positions as existing funding would allow. Those positions include the Animal Control Officer within the Department of Public Works, the 4 parks laborers, and the cemetery laborer. Total salary cost to restore these positions was approximately $184,000. We also recalibrated health insurance costs to reflect the restoration of these 6 positions, as well as to account for transfers and other personnel moves since the original budget submission. The total health insurance appropriation increased by almost $126,000. The Human Relations Director informs me that we have run out of funds in our FY07 appropriations for both city and school unemployment costs, and that we will be submitting budget transfers to cover this gap in the next council packet. Given this new information, and the fact that we may incur higher unemployment costs in FY08 because of reductions in staff, I have increased my original request for city and school unemployment by $65,000. The total of these increases was $375,000. To fund these increases without raising taxes, I reduced the salary reserve in the manager's contingency to 0. While I would have liked to restore all layoff positions, several remain unfunded. They are the Historic Board Administrative Assistant, the Clerk of Committees, the DPD Secretary, and the Library Secretary. My plan is to reassign these individuals who hold these positions when the opportunities allow, and I will add that I hope that will be within the next 30 to 60 days. There are also a number of positions that did not include layoffs but were left unfilled due to budgetary constraints. The Assistant Veterans Agent is included in this grouping. As you know, the Veterans Agent did retire, and the Assistant Veterans Agent did move up, but we do now have that position that's funded at $1 in the event that funds become available in the future. In these cases, we will evaluate the filling of these positions based upon need and the availability of funds. I've also increased my requested school appropriation by $800,000. I have funded this by increasing our estimate for new growth in property taxes by a like amount. We estimate that we will realize this sum if the legislation regarding the taxation of telecommunications infrastructure passes. This does rely on future action of the Massachusetts legislature. If the legislation is not approved by the time we need to set a tax rate, we will need to find another funding source within the budget. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me.
Okay, any questions or comments? I suggest then we solicit comments from the public and either to speak on this communication, budget matters as a whole, and then we'll move through the individual departments that we did not reach last night. Councilor Caulfield?
I just have one question. Mr. Manager, I imagine you had a long, hard day, and you started probably early this morning. What would be the funding for those other 3 employees that aren't covered?
Actually, I believe there are 4 other positions that aren't funded.
4?
Right, and those would be funded through additional property taxes, if you chose to do so.
You know what the figure on those 4 employees would be? What the cost would be?
We can calculate that pretty quickly for you, Councilor.
I think, Mr. Manager, if I may, there are a plan to find the other positions for those people. Is that without an increase in taxes?
As I indicated in my correspondence, that would be my goal to do that within the next 30 to 60 days. We have some, if you notice, most of those are clerical positions. We do have a number of clerical vacancies that we anticipate will be opening up. And those are fairly regular that they come across. But obviously we don't have any guarantees of those as of right now, and we'd have to work to do that. But that would be our goal.
Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In looking at the letter that we received, I'm assuming priority is given to the services aspect of it,
Yes.
and also the likelihood of a job opening and being able to re-employ someone in the relative near future?
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Rita Mercy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. The position in your department, I don't know, administrative assistant, the $82,000 position, when will that position start? When will that take place?
I would look to have that filled sometime in early July.
I thought it would have been December when Eddie Welch it would be right away in July.
That's correct.
I thought the move was to save $11,000 or some money, and it wasn't going to be filled till a person left. But that isn't what's going to happen?
It's in early July.
Councilor Armin Mercier?
Just to follow up, that's subject, of course, to the ordinance change. That's creating that position, right?
That's correct.
Okay. I have a question in your letter. Looks to me like yesterday we talked about 11 people being laid off, and now it's 5, if I read this right. Of the 11, 6 of...
It's 4.
Pardon me?
It's 4. The Historic Board Administrative Assistant, the Clerk of Committees, the DPD Secretary, and the Library Secretary.
Okay, well, my math is not right then, because yesterday we talked about 11.
There were 11 positions that were scheduled for layoff, but Mr. Dussault announced his retirement in order to
so
allow...
that reduces it to 10.
Right.
And that's what you mean. Now, in here you say, my plan is to reassign the individuals who hold this position with the opportunities allow. What type of opportunities are we talking about?
Again, we anticipate in the near future that there will be some clerical positions that open up within city government. And those, the turnover in those does happen, and we think that there may be some places we can take these people and reassign them.
Okay. If I'm the library secretary, as far as I'm concerned, I'm laid off as of July 1, unless something comes up between now and then.
That's correct.
And if nothing comes up between now and then, I'm laid off.
That's correct.
So there's no way of knowing between now and July 1 whether or not I'm going to have a job, if I'm the library secretary now.
Right now, as of today, yes.
So right now, as of today, she can be looking for being laid off by July 1 unless,
Right, that would give her
Something
about
takes
30
place
days'
between
notice.
now.
We'd give the proper notice, and she could
And the same
look
thing-
elsewhere or wait and see what we can come up with here.
and the same thing with the clerk of committees.
That's correct.
So that if the clerk of committees doesn't get from you and from the clerk some assignment that comes vacant or available between now and July 1, she's laid off.
That's correct.
And that would trigger now that the clerk of committees would be, the duties would be assumed by the city clerk and the assistant city clerk. My question I asked last night, I'm going to ask it again tonight. Wouldn't that necessitate some comp time or overtime for you and/or your assistant to assume this duty?
No.
You're saying no. So there'll be no extra money paid to you and/or the assistant for assuming that duty of the clerk of committees?
Correct.
Okay, I just want that for the record, because there's going to be an awful lot of subcommittees, especially this council, that are going to take place that's going to require additional work, additional time. And what you're saying here, Mr. Johnson, is that whoever covers that in lieu of Audrey McMahon will not be paid comp time or overtime.
Correct.
Okay. And that's acceptable to, it's acceptable to you, but acceptable to your assistant to work these extra hours and not get compensated for it? Well, I guess the proof will be in the budget, I guess. The other one, the assistant veterans agent, is included in this grouping, and the grouping is what you mentioned, the sentence ahead of that.
The positions that we have that we did not fill in this budget, there's a grouping of positions throughout the city government that we did not fill, that were vacant.
Okay, so you're going to evaluate the filling these positions based upon need and the availability of funds.
That's correct.
All right, so let's assume that there's a dire need for the veterans agent's position or assistant, whatever. That has to be coupled with available funds.
That's correct.
Which doesn't exist right now.
That's correct.
So the possibility of these things happening are very remote.
I wouldn't go so far as to say remote, but they're
Well,
not.
if I was at home now and this was me, I'd look for a layoff in in July, and start collecting unemployment and whatever else.
Well, those positions, that grouping of
Yeah.
people are already vacant, just as the assistant veterans agent position will be vacant.
The four that aren't funded, do they have status within the union to bump people out?
I'm not sure of that, and that's something we have to sit down, and I've spoken to Mr. Rudy about that, as well as Ms. Cox, and we're going to sit down. We have a meeting scheduled this Friday to go over some of that, and we'll look at those on a case-by-case basis.
And then further question is that the $1.6 million that you had proposed to cut from the school department budget,
From their request,
from
yes.
their request, is now a different number.
It's $800,000 different.
Different means that it's
My proposed budget has gone up by $800,000, so there's an $800,000 difference now between their request and what I've proposed.
okay, and that 800,000 is factored into the above decisions as far as layoffs.
Yes, it is.
And about everybody else.
In terms of the city, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, I certainly appreciate the hard work that you put into this today, but I do want to make a comment to follow up on a comment that Councilor Rita Mercier made regarding the assistant to the city manager's position. That was always a position that was to start July 1st, not December 1st, and there is, in fact, still a savings in the budget when you do the reorganization of $11,000. So, again, just so that our viewing audience is not misled, nothing has changed since last night.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor. Any further comments? We open
Not
it.
on the letter, no, I don't.
Excuse,
I
sorry.
don't have any further comments or questions on the letter that the manager has presented to us.
All right. Oh, any objection to hearing from the Councilor Elliott?
We'll hear from the public.
Okay. Is there anyone who wants to be heard on, this is a little awkward because we're not on a specific line item, but we do have a group of presentations here, so I would think if anyone wants to speak on this overall grouping, now would be an appropriate time to hear from members of the public.
Hi, Keith Duty, 28 Halley Road, Lowell, Mass. Mr. Manager, I appreciate the vote taken by the councilors yesterday on restoring these jobs. I believe on the library, Mr. Manager, I believe there's a vacant position now for a library assistant that's fully funded, nobody's in them. I'd appreciate if maybe we can offer this girl, who's the library secretary, a little more time to do both.
We would have to look at that.
Okay,
Mr.
because
Rudy.
there's a vacant position, rather than just hiring another person and laying someone off, it probably doesn't make sense.
That's
to do it.
exactly what I'm talking about in terms
Okay.
of having vacant positions. It depends, obviously, though, too, it depends upon qualifications.
Okay,
But we would sit
the-
down and talk about that.
The person losing her job in the planning development, talking about $26,000 job, and I think there's enough money in your temporary account, at least going by your saying that there might be some vacancy later on, maybe within a couple of months. Maybe we can use the temporary money, not to lay her off, and keep her there for maybe 6 or 8 weeks until we can find a position for her.
Once again, these are the type of discussions that are typically held when we do impact bargaining.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further comment from the public on this topic?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I came down here because I wanted to speak on the school department budget, but seeing this is generally open to everything, and I'll do it here and now. As you know, my name is Patrick O'Connor. I live at 38 Faux Street in this city, and I've been coming here for 17 years. And I hope that in no way, shape, or form that I've ever come out here and represented myself as being better than anybody else or being snobby in any way to hurt anybody in this city, because that's not my nature. I've come out here a number of times strictly just as an advocate for the people and the taxpayers of this city. I came here to speak on the school department budget. I'm a little saddened that we're going to cave halfway into this school department budget. Last night I said to each and every one of you councilors that go through the budget, go look at the school department budget, look at every line item, look at the salaries in there, and then to come to find out later that nobody even got it. Or some of you probably never read it at all, and it's a shame because you vote on the bottom line of this item. The school committee, whether they want to believe it or not, are responsible to the taxpayers as well as you guys, you people are. And they have a responsibility to keep their budget in line. And quite honestly, I don't see that as happening. They have $2 million sitting in a substitute teacher account. One for permanent subs, one for everyday subs. If the teachers come to work every day, that's $2 million sitting there free. That eats up this $1.6 million like that and still leaves them $400,000 to leave in there. Historically, the teachers in this city have been absent to the tune of 100 to 150 teachers a week. That's 10% or better than 15% of their workforce. How do you operate a system like that? Somebody has to hold them accountable. I have the greatest respect for education, just like everybody else does. I want my children to have a good education, just like you did, and we all did. And it's important that we pay for certain things. They have a preschool system, and their teachers are $1.1 million plus. And I'm sure busing is probably another $500,000 or $600,000. There's your money. That's not a mandated program. It's a glorified babysitting service. That's all it is. And it's never been anything else but. Children deserve to be bonded with their parents at that age, not in a school. They have room for cuts. And I can't believe that all of a sudden we can find money to pay for this funding. The people of this city are going to incur a $2.2 million tax increase, but we couldn't find any money to cut the tax rate. Oh no. But we can find money to pay them the $800,000. They had $800,000 surplus this year. And they rolled it into their budget. Which means to make me think they're going to have it again next year. Why do we let them off the hook? They're another side of government. And they need to be held accountable as well as all of you people do and as well as every city employee in this city has to. Every resident of this city could be a police officer, and it would still be crime. Every resident of the city could be a firefighter, and there would still be fires. And every resident of this city could be a teacher, and there would still be illiteracy. Throwing money at the problem is what we've done for the past 10 years. And that's what the school system has done. Councilor Caulfield hit on it the other day. We only spent $430,000 on books. All the money's going to teachers' salaries. And what that does, is, in my opinion, honestly, is that because they make more money now, doesn't improve education. They take more time off. Look at the sick time. You know, somebody has to stand up once in a while. I respect education as much as everybody else in here. I respect the teachers as much as everyone else in this city. But I can say this honestly and truthfully, I do not think they're better than anybody else in this city. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Anyone else from the public wishing to be heard on the overall budget presentation tonight? Okay.
Good evening. I'm Jackie Doherty. I'm at 77 Tyler Park. I just want to thank you for taking into consideration and the city manager's work today and looking at coming up with a compromise that will not require additional layoffs in the school department. As you know, we've gone through a number of cuts for the last 4 years in terms of staffing and services to our children. I'd also like to ask at this time if the council would allow to have the superintendent, Dr. Carla Brooks-Bear, address some of the points of the earlier speaker. Is that okay?
I think that's fine. I mean, it's open hearing, so sure.
Thank you. I'd like to echo Committee Member Doherty's expressions of appreciation. I want to say just a couple of things, if I could just comment on a couple of elements in the budget. Concerning our preschool program, we offer essentially the minimum required by the law for preschool. We're required under state law to provide education for 3- and 4-year-olds with special needs. And they have to be educated in an integrated setting, meaning there have to be some youngsters who are typically developing in the classrooms with them. So we've carefully looked at those ratios, and we fund the number of classrooms that would be the minimum required to meet that special education mandate. Concerning substitute costs, in the last 3 years, we've reduced the, teachers have reduced their use of short-term sick leave by 25%, down to an average that is comparable to other teachers in other districts. The surplus of $800,000 that we identified in the budget last year, and that with the city manager's approval we rolled over as part of our appropriation, was a surplus that we began to create by freezing expenditures starting in January of that year in order to try to create a surplus that we could use in a very tight budget year. We've made a cut so that we don't live on that for the future. In terms of salaries, we've done an analysis of salaries, and Lowell is now quite different than in 1993 when ed reform passed, when we were among the lowest paid teacher forces in the area. We are now competitive right at the time when we've been having to deal with an unprecedented number of retirements and the need to replace them with new teachers. So I hope that's helpful for some context for the budget. I want to also comment on the difference that this $800,000 will make. By having to cut our budget $800,000 instead of $1.6 million, we're going to be able to, I'm quite confident the school committee will meet on this, so these are not definitive decisions, but I'm quite confident that I will be able to recommend no reductions in, for example, paraprofessional positions, and so I would not anticipate any layoffs among the paraprofessionals. As an example of something that we'll be able to avoid doing with this savings. We'll still, in making the $800,000 cut from the school committee's voted budget, we'll still be in a position of having to make some tough choices and some tough consolidations. For example, I expect the committee will be giving serious consideration to a recommendation I anticipate making, which is to take a vacant administrative position at the high school, a position that will be vacant on July 1st due to a retirement, and consolidate two departments into one, the foreign language department consolidated with the ESL, English as a Second Language department, to have single leadership. That's not a good choice among a series of choices. Our English language learners at the high school are among our most vulnerable learners, and reducing the support of leadership in that department will be a challenge for us to absorb, but it's the kind of way that we'll try to deal with, begin to chip away at that $800,000 budget gap. But it makes a huge difference to us to be making a reduction of $800,000 instead of $1.6 million. So we do appreciate that.
Thank you. Other members from the public wishing to be heard on the overall budget? Okay.
Thank you. Jim Leary, 449 Parker Street. I want to appreciate you guys taking a look at this again. I know it's difficult. I know the choices that you're making on other city departments is a major challenge, so I appreciate the city administration taking a look at the school budget. Rest assured, we're going to be looking for inefficiencies and eliminating them. As the superintendent pointed out, one particular area, we're constantly challenged in that area. One area that we don't, I think, articulate clearly to folks is what we do on our elementary and middle school areas. We're constantly looking at how our services are implemented to the students. So we're constantly making staff changes at the school level. So there's constantly, people sometimes are being removed and laid off if their position isn't really fulfilling what the students' top priorities are. And that can be painful if you're the individual that's actually being eliminated. So this is something that the elementary schools and the middle schools, and to some extent the high schools, have been doing for 2 years now. We call it trade-offs, which essentially is really prioritizing your services. So the school system, for all intents and purposes, is becoming more and more like a regular private business that's out on the street. We are working continuously to be getting better in that area. I personally appreciate what you're doing tonight. I know it's difficult. You have difficult challenges to make later throughout tonight and throughout the year, and I really thank you very much for your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Others from the public wishing to be heard on the overall budget? Okay, I would suggest then we move into the departments that we did not consider last night, unless there's a different suggestion from a member of the council. So I believe the first section that was not decided last night is the city clerk's office. Bottom line budget figure, $310,413. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to be heard on that portion of the budget, the city clerk department? Anyone from the public on that department? Hearing none, what's the wish of the council? Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager, if you would be so kind as the people that have not been, that have been laid off, if we do find another position for them somewhere, could you let us know that?
I will do that, Councilor.
Because I just want to say that I'm happy that you found money to give back to the schools. It isn't all, but it's half, and it's better than having all that money taken away. But I did receive a call from one of the people that was laid off. It happened to be a woman, and if you could have heard her sobbing and crying, it broke my heart. It was just, I will never forget that. And so it's not easy to let people go, and I'm just wanting to know that if positions become available and these people can remain and stay, get called back, please let us know that.
Council, I will keep the entire city council up to date on the budget as we move forward in all of these positions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Armin Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How are the people affected going to be notified there's a possibility of a job open that they could apply for? The individuals are going to be notified first, or is it going to be posted? They have to compete with everybody? I mean, how is all this going to work?
All of that has to be worked out with the union during the impact bargaining process, and we would sit down, we'd work with the relevant union president and determine the best way to move forward on each one of those areas.
When we look at the clerk of committees of a savings of $32,000 by eliminating that position, that is the gross amount that's being saved. That doesn't take in consideration the unemployment benefit that is accrued to that person. In other words, what is it's going to cost us for unemployment for that person who's laid off. So the savings is not 32, it would be 32 minus whatever it cost us for the unemployment. Is that?
Plus any other benefits that accrue to that person, correct?
Okay.
But it is my
I hate
expectation.
to focus in on one person, but it would seem to me that we did not eliminate that position. I mean, the job description or the title of that position, we eliminated the person. There's still going to be a need for a clerk of committees. I don't know how that works with the union as it relates to this position is no longer needed. It's been changed. I think that there will be some litigation involved here through the union some way, somehow. And I don't believe that this savings of 32 is going to remain that amount. So I can't support this city clerk's budget because of that action by the city clerk. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Elliott?
I can't remember that we always had a clerk of committees. Have we, Mr. Clerk or Mr. Manager?
It's not. It's my understanding that that's a position that was just created in the last 8 years, 10 years.
Correct.
But the city clerk obviously would have a better sense of that than I do.
That's correct, Counselor. We appointed the position on a part-time basis in 1997, and then on a full-time basis in 1998.
Okay. I just want to make some general comments. Mr. Manager, first let me say, I didn't mention this yesterday, but I think this is one of the finest budgets that has been presented to this city in quite some time, and I think we can all appreciate it, and especially, I think you get a compliment from Patrick O'Connor too, so I think that says a lot. But I appreciate the level of information that's in here, and particularly as it relates to the revenue. I know Mr. Moses put in quite a bit of extra information to compare other communities, and folks that may want to look at this, taking a look online, really brings the budget to another level of transparency and provides detail that you can look almost, well, you can look everywhere, every nickel is being spent. So I do appreciate that. I meant to say that yesterday, maybe because I like numbers and I'm into numbers. I can appreciate a little bit more, but I think the residents benefit from it as well. I also appreciate the fact that we're trying to restore as many positions as we can and still hold the line on taxes. I'm going to support the ones that you're going to that you have put back into the budget using the contingency fund, because it doesn't increase taxes anymore, and I think that's important. I think we're walking that fine line and trying to do the balancing act with helping taxpayers and provide the services that they want. But I also would like to say that we've been living on borrowed time for too long, and I have said that probably for too long. I did vote to use free cash because that was the option on the table. I wish we wouldn't have. It has landed us in the position that we're at. It has created structural deficits, which really is just a fancy word for overspending. And I think this budget puts into place a sound budget, a stable budget that we can build from. As I look at forecasts and these numbers, I think this is the rock bottom year, in my opinion, and my crystal ball isn't any clearer than anyone else, but I see us moving forward from here. I think we're going to move, we're addressing a lot of the deficits that we've had, that some will go away. Unfortunately, some will not, like, early retirement. It's a pet peeve of mine. It's $1 million problem that was adopted that is going to be with us for another 6 years. Those are the big budget busters that we're trying to deal with, and that we have to still cope with for a couple of years, that are going to haunt us, in my opinion. But in large part, I think this budget tightens our belt, and with a little bit of luck, I think that we'll get a little luck that we'll have, be able to backfill or take these people that are being laid off and find something, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it work in a very, very difficult year. So, we're catching up. I think we're living within our means, and we're going to be moving forward from here. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to have some challenges. Hopefully, we won't have any more floods, any more major, snow disasters, because those hurt. But I appreciate the fact that our fiscal house is becoming more stable. You see it in our revenues, and that's a positive sign. So I'm going to support these cuts, and I thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick's had his hand up for a while. Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, Mr. Manager, I'd like to reiterate, I think you should be commended for putting together a fabulous budget. Tremendous amount of information. And as Councilor Elliott just got into some detail, we're in a difficult situation. You were asked to come in, straighten out the finances, not raise taxes. It had to be done to a certain degree, and you've held it down. You've brought people together. It's encouraging to see you deal with the unions and to try and keep people employed. You brought back 60% of the people from the original 10. I appreciate that. I think we lost some positions, but hopefully not people. And I trust that you understand that everybody here would like to see these people back before we hire people from the outside to fill the jobs that they're at, that they can take. I touched upon yesterday, I think that, this is a difficult year, and it's difficult decisions. These are, it's certainly a terrible thing when you have somebody call and ask, please don't lay me off. It's not a pleasant situation to be in, and sometimes I get the sense that people think that you enjoy it, and that that you consider part of your job, and quite frankly, I know that's not true. I understand you do your job, you take it serious, and you do it professionally. I respect that. I'm going to support what you brought in as far as the people coming back. You did it and kept us within the budget you presented. Again, I respect that. Hopefully we can bring the other people back in like positions. But moreover, I just want to compliment you on the budget and the way you presented it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Donahue?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the first time in 12 years that I've ever seen, we're not through yet, but that I've ever seen a budget where councilors are asking to add to the budget and not cut. There is, and I say that for a reason, because when you look department for department, they are down from last year despite rising costs, whether it's energy, the fact that we have an enormous deficit for reasons that were explained last night that we're digging out from under, despite the fact that, rising costs all across the board. If we wanted to, it would be hard pressed to have made cuts in many of these line items, because they had already been cut when they came to us. And so when I made the motion last night and asked you I said, maybe it's asking for the impossible, but can you try and put these people back and not raise taxes? And it is impossible, but I want to, again, together with my colleagues, commend you and the superintendent and the school budget for working together. It's not easy. It's not easy for anybody to be laid off. And I trust that same type of spirit of cooperation that brought the changes here tonight will also apply in trying to locate positions for these other 4 people who are affected by this budget. I commend you and the union for trying to work together on this, and I fully trust that will be continued. I guess the sign of a good compromise is that neither side is all that comfortable or happy with the result. And I think that's fair to say here. Nobody's jumping for joy here tonight. But we do have, 3 or at least sides to satisfy. We have the school responsibility, we have our employees, and we have the taxpayers, and all 3 want to be treated fairly. And I think this budget comes as close to doing that as any I've seen in recent years. And though there is a tax increase, 2.5%, it's far less than what has happened in recent years. And so let's hope we are, reaching the point in terms of good government and leveling off these kinds of increases. Just one other point, and that is, if there's anything, Mr. Manager, that we can be doing as a council, as city representatives, to further the telecommunications tax issue, that would be a great source of revenue that we can't factor into the budget as we sit here today. And maybe going forward we can look into that. I know it's pending at the state, but if there's anything we can do, we received an email about that from a taxpayer, and rightfully so. Is there something we can do to make sure we're furthering that goal? And so rest assured, it's on the radar screen, and I know it would be a big help to the city if we are able to reap those taxes.
Well, if I may, Councilor,
Mr. Manager.
I certainly think, I know the mayor and I have both signed on to, in support of the telecommunication tax and the Municipal Partnership Act that the governor has filed, and certainly the city council's endorsement of that tax on the utility companies that have really just started utilizing this loophole within the last several years. And it does have an enormous impact upon municipalities across the Commonwealth. So that would certainly be something to consider in the future.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield and Councilor Ramirez.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Any budget that I have debated or worked on, none of them are easy. None of them, Mr. Manager. And I know you had your hands full with this budget, and I understand the job at task. And your administration put this budget together, but on the other side of the coin, this council takes it just as serious as you. I'd just like to say a few words about Audrey McMahon. Audrey was brought on during the Brian Martin administration. And I think it was mentioned earlier, she was brought on as part-time. And any time I went into the clerk's office, Audrey McMahon was always at the desk, working, or at the counter, assisting citizens of our city, and so forth. And I guess she was brought on as a full-time employee. And there was a time when Audrey McMahon was the fabric and the glue in that office and kept things going. Very dedicated person, very personable, and I just feel bad that she's going to be an employee that's being laid off, and I wish her well. And hopefully, Mr. Manager, you can find a position for this woman who is very dedicated, lifelong resident of the city. They pay taxes in the city as well. So, but anytime Audrey was doing the minutes at a subcommittee meeting, or very thorough. Anytime I called her, she was always there with an answer to my question, and all my colleagues can more or less verify that. She was an excellent employee, and I wish her well.
Any further?
Can
Councilor, sorry. No, that's fine. We need to limit our comments about individual personnel, but
I don't intend to talk about the individual.
fine. Councilor Armin Mercier.
I want to make it clear that I totally agree with what has been said about the manager's effort in his budget. I fully concur that he did one hell of a job in presenting to us what he feels is in the best interest of the city, and I do not fault that, and I don't criticize that. But I'm not relegating my own position as it relates to parts of the budget, and it should not be reflected that the manager did a bad job. He most certainly did not. I concur with Councilor Elliott. This is a budget that was presented to us as he sees the budget should be, in the best interest of the city, and I understand that, and I concur with that. That doesn't mean I agree with everything that he's put forward. And so any criticism that I may have about a particular line item in the budget is not criticism of the manager, and he knows that because he and I have some professional background that we can respect. I just want to make it clear that there are certain circumstances here that I don't agree with. The one on the city clerk has nothing to do with the personality of the person. I think basically it is not a good move economically. But that's my opinion, and I'm going to reflect that in my vote. But I do not want anyone in this council to suggest in any way, shape, or manner that this is directed against the manager, because he knows that's not the case. This is not about the manager. I think he did a great job in presenting this budget forward. We have more information than we ever had. I appreciate that, but I still reserve the right as a councilor who was elected like everybody else to voice an opinion on certain items. I just want to make that abundantly clear for the record. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Ramirez, my apologies.
Can we get a roll call on this?
Well,
move it right along.
Yes, I think if there's no further, it's the bottom line figure on the city clerk budget as recommended, $310,413. Motion to approve by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Elliott. Roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
No.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
No.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
No.
6 yeas, 3 nays.
6 yeas, 3 nays. The bottom line figure of $310,413 is approved. The next item that was passed over last night, I believe, is planning and development. Within the planning and development section of the budget, the planning board item was approved. The planning and development division was
Excuse
not
me,
Mr. Mayor,
approved.
excuse me.
Manager's contingency.
Did we do the city manager's contingency? I thought we held that.
I'm sorry.
Actually,
All right.
if you,
So we go to city manager's contingency, and there is a recommended change in that from what was submitted last night. It's included in the papers that the manager presented this evening. So that is I believe $250,000, Mr. Manager. Any discussion? First, let me ask any members of the public wishing to be heard on the city manager's contingency portion of the budget? Well,
21.
Counselor, it's on, originally submitted was page 21, but the figure has been adjusted in the letter this evening. So it was original submission of $750,000, and now is recommended at $250,000. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard on this portion of the budget? Okay, hearing none, what's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Armin Mercier. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas. The bottom line figure, $250,000, is approved, and I think that now brings us to the Planning and Development Division within the Planning and Development section of the budget. The bottom line figure to be debated is $1,506,615, which I believe is unchanged from what was presented in the original manager's proposal. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard on this portion of the budget? Okay. Hearing none, what's the wish of the council? Motion to approve by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Ramirez. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
No.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 nay.
8 yeas, 1 nay. The bottom line figure, $1,506,615, is approved. That brings us to the education portion of the budget. The school department, I believe the vocational school was approved last evening. The only item remaining is the school department budget, which has a revised manager recommendation of $135,975,089. Anybody from the public wishing to be heard on this portion of the budget?
Thank you. My name is Stacy Seschel. I live at 31 Harvard Street. I have 3 daughters, one in the public schools now. And I want to say on behalf of her and on behalf of Stand for Children, thank you for your collaborative work, city councilors, city manager, mayor, and the superintendent, for the work that you did together to cut in half the reductions to the school budget. I also want to say that Stand for Children is already involved in organizing efforts around the municipal tax and telecommunications tax, and we look forward to working with you on that to bring more revenues to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to be heard on this portion of the budget? Okay. I guess, hearing none, what's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Rita Mercia, second by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Armin Mercia?
I just want to ask the question of the school department, of Mr. Lang in particular. I asked this to the chief yesterday, and for some reason or other, there's still a confusion in my mind. There are 2 school resource officers, Pender and Moore, I think. I'm not sure of the both names. They are listed under a JAG program in the police department budget of $66,000 each. I haven't had a chance to look at this document that was delivered tonight, but I thought that was also in that school budget.
It is.
Isn't it?
It's a grant. That's a grant.
It is in both.
It's in both, though. I can't understand how that works.
The school department has, historically, at least for the last few years, we've budgeted for 2 of the school resource officers. I'm not sure off the top of my head which 2 officers.
The names are in both budgets, so...
Oh, the same names?
Same names in both budgets.
Oh, I assure you it's not the same 2 officers.
Right.
But we have budgeted for 2 of the school resource officers.
If you look at your budget, at least the one I saw last night, both names are in there for $66,000 each. The same names that are in the police grant budget. My question is there an error here? Is there $120,000 out of whack someplace?
No, I'm certain.
So you got the wrong names? Can you double check?
I would absolutely double check.
Tonight, but
correct. Yes, I know that the FTEs are correct. The total number of officers assigned to the program are correct. There's not 2 extra officers anywhere, or the monies for 2 extra officers.
Okay.
I'd be happy to check the names and just verify and get back to you.
Mr. Manager?
And just by, I'm sure the councilors know this, because it's listed in our police budget as a grant-funded item, it doesn't affect the bottom line general fund appropriation, but we will double-check and work with the school committee on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions on this portion of the budget? Okay. So then, roll call on the bottom line figure for the Lowell Public Schools, $135,975,089, which is an increase of $800,000 from the manager's original submittal last evening. Roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas. The amount is approved, and I think we need a vote on the total school appropriation, which includes the number we just approved, plus the vocational school appropriation. So that total amount is $141,239,106. Anybody from the public wishing to be heard on the total school appropriation? Okay, hearing none, what's the wish of the council?
Move for approval.
Motion to approve by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Donahue. Roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor
Yes.
Caulfield? 9 yeas.
9 yeas. The bottom line figure, $141,239,106 is approved. Brings us to the Public Works section of the budget. There are several departments within that portion of the budget. The first is DPW General. The bottom line, manager recommended, the revised recommendation, $1,767,147. Anybody from the public wishing to be heard on that portion of the DPW budget? Okay, hearing none, what is the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Councilor Donahue, second by Councilor Milonazo. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez? Yes. Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor
Yes.
Caulfield? 9 yeas.
9 yeas, the item is approved. Next in DPW is engineering. Bottom line figure of $348,503. I believe this item is unchanged from the manager's original submittal.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone from the public wishing to be heard on the DPW engineering portion of the budget? Hearing none, what's the wish of the council? Councilor Arman Mercia?
I just have a question. Mr. Manager, there are 3 vacant positions in that engineer's office. Are there any plans to fill them, or do we just...
Actually, I believe there are 4 vacancies there, Councilor, and there are no...
I'm sorry.
No, I know that last one slipped still below the line there. There are no plans right now to fill those. Obviously, we've been operating without those for some time. We'll continue to do so, but certainly in the future, I'd like to staff up that engineering office if the need dictates.
That's why it's being carried for $1 in the event
Yes.
that we have money to fill them?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay, further discussion on this portion of the budget? Motion approved by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Ramirez. Roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield? 9 yeas.
9 yeas, the bottom line figure, $348,503 is approved. Next is DPW land and buildings. The figure for consideration, $2,120,646. Anybody from the public wishing to be heard on this portion of the Department of Public Works budget? Okay. Hearing none, what is the wish of the council? I believe this also is unchanged from the manager's original submission.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Ramirez. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield? 9 yeas.
9 yeas, the bottom line figure of $2,120,646 is approved. Next department is DPW Electrical. The bottom line figure, $461,254. Anybody from the public wishing to be heard on this portion of the budget? On this portion of the budget? Hearing none, what is the wish of the council? This, I believe, is also unchanged from the manager's original submission.
Yeah, move approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Rita Mercia, second by Councilor Broderick. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield? 9 yeas.
9 yeas, the vote is approved. The next department within DPW is streets. Bottom line figure for consideration is $1,304,539. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard on this portion of the budget? Anyone on this portion of the budget?
Have we funded the animal control officer and the HAVIC person back in that, on the animal control? Is he not in that budget?
Yes, the question was the animal control officer
That's
funded?
been added
That's
back
been
in,
added.
yes.
Is that in this section, Mr. Manager?
That's actually in the general section of the...
Okay, anyone else from the public wishing to be heard on this portion of the budget? This is streets, bottom line figure, $1,304,539. Okay, hearing none, what's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Rita Mercia, second by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Elliott, did you have a question?
I did have a question, but it's on a section that we already that we already flipped by. And I don't have a question on the dollar figure, just you rearranged, you put messenger underneath land and buildings, which is a change. I meant to catch that, so I'm sorry. But nothing has changed. And can I just ask one more question? You've zeroed out messenger. I've been seeing that funded for $1. I think TJ was a messenger for years.
Yeah, actually, the CFO, strangely enough, has been the messenger.
I'm glad to see that save the $1, but what was the purpose of the of that line of that position?
Of that position, it's essentially it's a throwback. It did serve a messenger purpose at one point in time, but it also was responsible for the custodial functions of the city hall and the library.
Oh, Councilor Donahue said it served as a department head?
Yeah, at
And it
one
served as
point,
a
it was a
department head.
department head, so that the
was-
manager could name that person in
That's
their
correct.
wake if they left town, and that's what we were told.
Okay.
And that was a reason that was, I believe, provided to the CFO.
Correct, yeah.
So that could. Right.
Because they had to be a department head in order to act as acting city managers.
Thank you. I'm sorry to go back to the other. I don't want to get too far ahead. I appreciate you going back and explaining that. Thank you.
So the motion on the floor is to approve the DPW street bottom line figure, $1,304,539. Any further discussion on that motion?
Move approval.
Roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield? 9 yeas.
9 yeas, the item is approved. Next item is DPW Parks. The bottom line figure for consideration, $2,619,936, which is an increase from the original recommendation that the manager brought forth in the original budget document. Anybody from the public wishing to be heard on the DPW Parks budget? Okay, hearing none, what's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Ramirez. Councilor Elliott?
No, I'm going to, did we miss something again? Did we miss snow and ice, waste collection, street?
Snow and ice, waste collection, and street lighting. You gonna get to those? Okay, DPW one? Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to those, okay.
Page 105.
Where are they in the?
'Cause I thought we voted on the bottom line of 1.304.
That's other.
Those will be coming up as other, a little bit farther down.
Oh, okay, on page 105, it's listed different, okay. I knew I was behind on the other one, but not on this one.
So, yeah, we have not approved those yet. We
Okay.
will get to them.
Move approval of parks.
All right, there is a motion made and seconded on approval of this bottom line figure. Any further discussion or questions on this item? Okay, roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield? 9 yeas.
9 yeas, the bottom line figure, $2,619,936 is approved. The next portion of the DPW budget is the cemetery. The bottom line figure for consideration is $563,985, which I believe, Mr. Manager, is an increase over the original submission.
That is correct.
Anybody from the public wishing to be heard on this portion of the budget, DPW cemetery? Okay. Hearing none, what's the wish of the council? Motion to approve by Councilor Caulfield, second by Councilor Rita Mercier. Roll call. I'm sorry, any discussion on the motion?
What's the number again, Mr. Mayor? I'm sorry.
The number is $563,985.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
9 yeas, the vote is approved. The next item, we did DPW water last evening. That was approved.
Yep.
So the next item is DPW other. The amount of $7,980,015. Anybody from the public wishing to be heard on this portion of the budget? $7,980,015. Hearing none, what's the wish of the council? This is the same item in the original submission. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, on waste collection, I noticed there is a reduction in that bottom line item, which is a good thing. Is that part of our contractual obligation, or I'll presume the tipping or disposal fee don't go down? So are we saving because of recycling? Is that what our projection is?
It's based upon the trending we're seeing in the area of recycling. So that we're seeing that that's going to be increasing over an annualized basis, and we see that will allow us to make a reduction there.
And I see lighting has gone up by 60,000. We're trying to accommodate our increases in...
Exactly. The rates have gone up, so we'll have to try to budget accordingly.
Okay. Our favorite line item, snow and ice, gone up slightly. I know we can deficit spend, but what did we spend this year on snow and ice?
The deficit was, Ed has the answer. So he wants to justify his sitting here all this time. Go ahead, Ed.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, Mr. Mayor. We spent a total of $1,350,873.36.
Okay, and that
So
includes...
we have an $800,000, $873 deficit. We have $550 in the budget, so we're only $800,000 in the hole.
So where are we going to make that up, Mr. Mayor? We'll make that up on the recap sheet?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Further questions on this portion of the budget?
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Milonazo. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the bottom line figure is approved. Next, I believe that concludes Department of Public Works. That would bring us to the next item that we did not consider last night, which is Veterans. Bottom line figure, $701,141. Anybody from the public wishing to be heard on this portion of the budget, this portion of the budget, Veterans? Hearing none, what's the wish of the council? Motion approved by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Broderick. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
No.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 nay.
8 yeas, 1 nay. The bottom line figure, $701,141, is approved. I believe the next item that was not considered last evening is the library. Bottom line figure is $1,054,859. That is unchanged from the original recommendation. Anybody from the public wishing to be heard on the library portion of the budget? Anyone from the public on the library portion of the budget? Hearing none, what's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Ramirez. Councilor Caulfield?
I just have one question, Mr. Mayor, to the manager. Mr. Manager, many of the school children utilize the library, and that's what it's for, and citizens as well. But we don't get any credit, Mr. Manager, for net school spending because of that, do we? We don't get any credit for that?
No.
All right. Any way of investigating Ways and Means to see if we could?
That's not allowed under the calculation of the Education Reform Act. That you would be able to count that.
Yeah.
But I'll certainly be happy to inquire, more formally with the Department of Education. I'm not aware that, I'm sure other communities have tried that. I know
The crossing
communities have
guards
tried
and everything,
everything.
we don't get any credit for, so.
Right.
it's-
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Broderick, did you have a question or comment? Okay. Any further discussion on this portion of the budget? All right, let me just, Mr. Moses, is there a problem with the bottom line figure here?
We're checking one thing right now based upon, our goal here is to make sure we qualify for state aid, and there's been a couple of adjustments there that we just need to make sure that we, in fact, meet that requirement.
Counselor Elliott?
What is that requirement, that there's a minimum threshold for
It's a
spending?
minimum, I believe it's 2.5% over the prior 3 years average.
Prior 3-year average, okay.
So that should be, the correct number there should be, ask Mr. Moses to.
The total, is
That,
yeah, we can add the difference to temporary or something.
so it should be an addition of $3,794, which would be added to the bottom line, which would make that appropriation, that's what I'm looking for, the
Right,
$1,059,683.
no, actually, sorry, no.
Excuse me, $1,059,094. Right to the penny.
So.
And we would add that into the part-time or temporary help line.
So, Mr. Manager, that's a revised recommendation?
Yes, it is.
To increase, is the increase number 3794? Is that?
$3,794.
Increase to the salaries and wages temporary line item?
Yes.
Which would bring the bottom line figure to
$59,094.
$94. So that's a revised recommendation. Is there a motion to approve by
So moved.
Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Milonazo? Any discussion on this portion of the budget? Okay, roll call on the motion.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the bottom line figure, $1,059,094 is approved. Under, I believe the next item that was not considered last evening was the unclassified portion of the budget, which includes workers' compensation, unemployment, health insurance, state assessments, retirement, Medicare tax, claims and judgments, insurance, and the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments assessment. The bottom line figure for consideration here is $50,684,912, which is an increase from the original submission. Is there anybody from the public wishing to be heard on this portion of the budget? Anyone from the public on this portion of the budget? Hearing none, what is the wish of the council? Motion approved by Councilor Rita Mercia, second by Councilor Broderick. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor
Yes.
Caulfield? 9 yeas.
9 yeas, the bottom line figure is approved. I believe that concludes the department-by-department deliberations. I know we have to approve a bottom line figure. Madam Solicitor, is that, we need to do that this evening?
No, I don't think so.
Is it, we have now concluded the department-by-department deliberations. We need to vote on a bottom line figure of the budget. Okay. Maybe we should, I have a vote that I think needs to be read. Maybe we could recess for 2 minutes and let Mr. Moses calculate that number, fill it in on the vote, and we'll resume in 2 minutes. Okay, we'll stand in brief recess for 2 minutes.
Your keys?
Just want to make sure everything is...
Right. Don't do it on that.
Well, not everything's in here. Right.
I'm not voting for this. What are these, is it the 288 number that we put?
The 288 was the general fund, then the other numbers are the other funds. So the last number, the 314 number.
That's what goes in here?
Yep.
Agree?
Agreed.
All right.
She did?
She could be tough.
Tom, what is this? What are these other numbers? You know? Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order after a brief recess. Roll call, please, Mr. Clerk.
Councilor Donahue?
Here.
Councilor Elliott?
Here.
Mayor Martin?
Here.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Here.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Here.
Councilor Milonazo?
Here.
Councilor Ramirez?
Here.
Councilor Broderick?
Here.
Councilor Caulfield?
Recesses. Why do we?
Nine
Present. Okay, the bottom line figure, I'm going to read two numbers here. The general fund budget that we just concluded deliberations on, the bottom line figure is $288,207,073. To that, we need to add in the wastewater enterprise, the arena enterprise, the parking fund, and the career center. So that brings the total balance of the budget to $314,018,986. So we now are required to vote this budget. I'm going to read the vote approving the budget for the City of Lowell for the fiscal year 2008, whereas pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 32, the city manager submitted a proposed budget for fiscal year 2008 to the City Council on May 15, 2007. And whereas the City Council held advertised public hearings to consider the proposed budget on May 29, 2007 and May 30, 2007. And whereas upon motion, the City Council accepted the budget as submitted by the city manager after reductions otherwise separately voted, if any, now therefore be it voted by the City Council of the City of Lowell that the City Council of the City of Lowell hereby adopts and approves the budget for fiscal year 2008 for the City of Lowell, including all line items therein as if separately voted thereon, including in the proposed resolution of City Council, pages 1830, in the sum of $314,018,986, which sum shall be appropriated and raised by taxation and other sources, including but not limited to revenue sharing. That is the vote. What is the wish of the council? Motion approved by Councilor Donahue, second by Councilor Caulfield. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the vote is approved. That concludes the budget deliberation. Mr. Manager, thank you for all your work on this. I also want to thank the councilors for their careful and polite debate, also the members of the public who chose to participate, members of the school department, and members of the public who spoke on the budget. Anything further to come before the meeting? Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my understanding we're going to require some ordinance changes?
Yes, we will be doing that to implement the sections of the budget, including the pay schedules for the ordinance employees that are contained within the budget, the positions that are contained within the budget. I believe those are the major items that will take place.
Before July 1st?
It can be, it should be before July 1st or beginning of July. I prefer to do it before July 1st if at all possible.
Okay, thank you.
Just to follow up, that also requires public hearings.
That's correct. The
We'd have to
solicitor,
advertise it and
right,
have a
the
public-
solicitor and I will be preparing that, presenting it to the council, and working it into the council schedule.
Council Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I also want to thank my colleagues and the manager and everyone that was here involved with the council, the budget deliberations. And as I said earlier, it's not an easy job for anyone. It's not an easy job for the manager. But going through the budget, and we just looked at the unclassified area of the budget. And I looked at the school department budget, thank God I had one tonight. But 1999, the health insurance for the city of Lowell, for the municipal side of the government and the school department, I believe was a total of $13 million. I just looked at the cost to the city and to the schools. It's $31,701,942. It's 11% of the budget, Mr. Manager, as you well know. And there was nothing wrong with an HMO Blue. It's an excellent plan, and I just wish that the employees would take another hard, long look at going to an HMO Blue plan. And if anyone with a small family, it's beneficial to them to have an HMO Blue plan. Master Medical is it's too costly, and the employees should take a long hard look, and instead of being browbeat by some people and say that the Master Medical is the best plan and you should keep the Master Medical plan and so forth, let the employees make that decision themselves. And that's all I have to say. It's $31 million, almost $32 million. So.
Any further?
I just want to comment that those are great comments, but it depends how old you are and how sick your family is. There's a big difference. I know right now the school department is negotiating that as they should, but it's not as simple as because HMO is cheaper, that's what you should do. Depends on your own particular circumstances, how old you are, the family you have. So it's not an issue that's cut and dry.
But Councilor, the employees have a choice. They can either choose one or the other, and they're not being told up front all the facts.
Well, our employees do, right? I mean,
all the employees of the city are provided.
Right. The only issue here is the negotiations with the school department people. Right.
Well,
I mean,
there's really no issue. We're concluded
right.
debate.
Okay.
So,
okay.
I believe Mr. Councilor Elliott, did you have anything? All right, Manager, I think had some remarks. Mr. Manager.
Well, first off, let me thank the council for the support on the budget. It was a difficult budget to put together because of the fiscal conditions we find ourselves in, but I certainly appreciate the comments that you provided me during the deliberations, as well as the votes that you took. And certainly as we move forward, we'll continue to work on the progress that we've made with that, and I'll keep the council up to date on any progress that we make along any of the areas regarding the employees, regarding our revenues and our expenditures. One other item, though, that I did want to bring up, this is a news release that we've issued today that's going out. It's been provided to the newspaper. We put up on cable as well as our website that the U.S. Small Business Administration, the SBA, is to attend the Pawtuckettville Citizens Council meeting on June 4th, 2007. A representative from the U.S. Small Business Administration will be attending the Pawtuckettville Citizens Council meeting on Monday, June 4th, 2007 at 7 p.m. at the An Wang Middle School Auditorium at 365 West Meadow Road to meet with residents regarding eligibility for financial assistance, disaster loans, for damages caused by severe storms and flooding occurring from April 15th, 2007 to April 19th, 2007. Whether you rent or own your own home, own your own business, and are a victim of a disaster, you may be eligible to apply for financial assistance from the U.S. Small Business Administration. We have details at the City of Lowell website, www.lowellma.gov, for details. So I just wanted to announce that to the council, as well as the public that's watching. And as I said, we've provided it to the press as well. So I want to thank Assistant Manager McCarthy for his efforts in coordinating this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Councilor Elliott.
I just wanted to recognize Mr. Moses and Cheryl Wright. I know the manager, rightfully so, gets the credit, but they were there behind the scenes doing all the number crunching, and that's really the grunt work that deserves, worthy of noting. I also we're on summer schedule just for people at home watching from here on in. Is that right, Mr. Clerk? The next meeting isn't...
The next meeting will be June 12th. Regularly scheduled meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Meeting stands adjourned.